It's funny these days we're seeing a lot in the political world in which we have a national politics that's very, very closely divided, and one or two people have tremendous control over the rest of the country, not just the Congress, but over everyone. And they're basically, even though they only have one vote, they're able to stop things. They're able to derail a process, have a minority veto. And that's what I want to talk to you today about. It's the minority veto that comes up in the small business world and how it affects limited liability companies, partnerships, sometimes corporations, how it affects their ability to stay in business, how it affects their ability to continue ordinary operations. So let's begin with the idea of what's a deadlock. Deadlock is the inability of the owners of a business to make decisions that are, lawyers would say, material. That means really important to the continued operation of the business. And you get yourself in circumstances, depending on which state you're in any given circumstance, where the laws that govern the operations of a partnership, that govern the operations of a limited liability company, they set aside a class of decisions that they say are so important that everybody has to agree. And I think that you have to understand that that is because corporations are creatures of statute. The legislature in each state came up with a corporations code, and it created this fiction, this entity. Corporation is a legal person, but it's a legal construct as well. And so it's a creature of statute. And the statutes in most states are very detailed about such things as mergers and approving mergers and all sorts of decisions that are, really critical to the continued operation of the business. The other kinds of business, the unincorporated business associations, they're called, and that includes limited liability companies, partnerships, general partnerships, and limited partnerships, joint ventures, other kinds of businesses that are not corporations, and that's because they're creatures of contract. So partnerships, two people decide they're going to be partners together, and three people decide they're going to be partners together, and that's really a contractual relationship. A limited liability company, four people decide that they're going to form an LLC. In its core, it's a contractual. And what's one of the key aspects of a contract? It's that you can't change it without people agreeing. So if you have four people who form a limited liability company and form a limited liability company, the four people have an operating agreement, that's a contract, and three of them can't change it over the objection of one of the others unless that's something that they've all agreed to. So most states require a unanimous vote, a unanimous agreement to change the operating agreement, to change the partnership agreement. Requires unanimous agreement. It doesn't have to be in the best interest of everybody else involved. Most of the time, when it comes to ownership issues like this, you're an owner, you've got a right to vote and pursue your economic self-interest within the confines, the context of that business. Some exceptions. For example, in New York, limited liability company law provides for amendment of an operating agreement by majority vote. That's rare. And certain kinds of decisions can be made in New York by majority vote that require unanimous decisions elsewhere. One of the issues that comes up a lot in limited liability companies and partnerships, who gets to be an owner? And the general rule is that nobody else is admitted. Nobody else gets a seat at the table unless everybody in the company says it's okay. Everybody has to approve. So if you want to make a new partner in a business, all of the other partners have to agree. If you want to admit a new member, all of the members of the limited liability company have to agree. And that really comes from this concept in the closely held business that I refer to as the pick your partner rule. When you're working so closely on a day-to-day business and you own this enterprise with a handful of other people, The idea is that no one should be forced to do business in that close of a relationship with somebody that they don't want to do business with. And so you have this idea of pick your partner. Everybody has to agree. It's not unusual in a limited liability company to have an operating agreement that's been drawn with a provision that provides for compelled purchases and sales. There's a buy-sell agreement that are triggered by deadlock. The other thing that happens frequently is that these cases lead to litigation, and we constantly are writing about it, looking at the issue of how courts are going to step in and deal with a company that's deadlocked. In some cases, they close the doors. In some cases, they sell the business. In some cases, the people in the business sell to each other. If you have a circumstance in which a limited liability company, a partnership, if you're involved in one and you don't have any kind of provision for that, it's always a good idea to stop. Get a lawyer, take a look at the issue, along with all the other issues that involve running a limited liability company or running a closely held business. Because once people get locked into a position, very difficult to change their minds. So if you have a circumstance where somebody's got a minority veto and they want to exercise it, that is not the time to think about trying to redraw agreements, because it never works. My name's Jay McDaniel. I practice business law and business divorce law. If you have questions, comments, please feel free to post them with the video. Or if you feel like you need to talk to a lawyer, you can send me an email or give me a call. Thank you.